Well, hello again, this is Ray from AppliCad Software. Another little job that was sent to us during the week. Quite a complex one actually, but well, appears to be complex, but with the tools we've got, you'll find that it's actually quite simple. So let's take a good look at what we've got. Oh, by the way, this underlay image has been scaled already. When you scale from dimensions, always use a horizontal dimension or vertical dimension. That is to say, an eve line. If you use the hip, that's the longest line, you would notionally think that that was going to give you a greater level of accuracy in the scaling. But in fact, that's the dimension up the slope, so that's no help to us. So I used the 41 foot dimension, and then if we wanted to check the dimension, we just to see how we went with our scaling, go to scale rotate and check measure, and we can check the length of this line, zoom right in and have a bit of a look. If we scale it okay, 27'6" and a bit, it's pretty good. So the scaling's okay, and when I scaled it, I actually used this 41 foot line, and that's come up with a really good scale factor. Worked out well. Alright, how do we tackle this? It's a bit tricky, isn't it? It looks a lot more complicated than it actually is, but if we forget all the stuff that's been done to it, if we look closely, we'll figure out that it's actually one big 4-hip roof. So what about we try digitizing a great big 4-hip roof and see where we go. Zoom right into the corner, left click, start a corner, zoom out a bit, and what we want to do is come across the distance there, and we'll come up to the next corner and right click, close square. The rest of the drawing says 512, so we're going to go 512, 15 foot eve height, that's okay, and hit continue and continue. Right, so there's our roof. These hip lines line up, but oh blow, these ones don't. And what's happened? Well, what's happened is that we need to go a little bit further up, and so I'm going to guess it's probably about 2 feet. So we need to move this corner so that it comes out a bit. So the massaging on this final job has been quite substantial. We're using that as our datum, so everything's relative to that. So let's delete that. That's just deleted the geometry, the model stays where it was. We can recover the outline because we've done that already, and delete anything that might be hanging around and change the outline, yes. So we want to add 2 feet to that length, add 2 feet to that length. Because we've added it to those two, we need to add it to those two as well. And we preview the change, and we hit OK, and it's still 512 and it's still 15 foot off the ground with 0 overhang. OK, and continue. So the ridgeline lines up beautifully, but this is, oh, that's because it's moved down. Alright, so what we do, we use the modify roof, group move, draw a box around the whole thing. Initial point, read the prompts, it tells you what to do. Initial prompt, left click, and incremental in the Y direction, 2 feet, go. Right click to get out of that, and bam, that was smack on. How about that? Not a bad guess. Alright, so as you must when you're operating with our software, always keep an eye on the prompt area. It tells you what to do, and even when you're an expert and you've been doing it for years and years and you think you know what you're doing, the prompt will remind you to do it correctly. Okay, so 4-hip roof, absolutely, that was okay, and we've now got these hip lines lining up absolutely bang on, and you'll see that this corner overlaid the end a bit, and in fact it overlaid it 2 feet. So what do we do now to get the rest of this geometry? And you'll be hopefully quite pleased at how easy it will be. We use the modify roof digitize cutout function. So we're going to digitize the cutout, and I'm just going to tell it to use all the visible planes and delete the internal pieces, and start digitizing plus or minus an inch, round everything to the nearest inch. That'll work for me. Zoom in. Now start from outside the building and go into the corner and up to the next corner. Go to a bit of trouble lining it up nice and smooth. Just makes it all work better later on. Now what's happening here? A lot of stuff going on here. Right, got to come across to that edge there, and then using my crosshair, to line up that other reeve line will be about there. I'm locking to orthogonal plus or minus 45 degrees, and so the lines will always go square, and doing that allows you to use the cursor to help you line stuff up on that line. Right, good. On this one. Now if you reckon you're not quite good enough on that one, just hit step back and have another crack at it. So get in there, that's the way, and in there, remembering we're rounding to the nearest inch. With the pixelation of the screen, it will appear to jump out every now and then, but it's actually okay, depending on your level of zoom. Gee, there's a lot of steps in this, isn't there? And if you wanted to, you could actually type the actual dimensions if you could trust those dimensions. So you have to make a decision there as to which bit you trust. Right, we get to the end, come out to outside the building. We started off outside the building, we finish outside the building, we right click close square, and you really want to cut, yes. Bam! How about that? Righto, let's do the other side. We're on a roll here. Digitizing, using visible planes, rounding to the nearest inch. And I'm going to start down here again. Just some sense of order in my life. And now, I'm not going to be quite as fussy on this one because now you understand the process. It's the process I'm going to concentrate on, plus or minus a couple of inches. I'm not going to be too fussed just now. I really just want to get it in so you can see what we're doing. And if I was really fussed, I would actually use the actual dimensions provided I trust those dimensions. So I can still get pretty close to everything, a couple of inches here or there, but right now I'm just interested in showing you the process. And outside the building and up a little bit, started outside, I finished outside, right button, close square, yes, cut out. Bam. Okie doke. So that's that part of the roof. Now, as is always the case, always save your job when you got yourself to a point where you don't want to lose any of that work. And that's worth doing, so let's not lose any of that because that's all pretty cool. Okay, well, what do we do next? We can do the simple bits. Always nice to do the simple bits, get them out of the way. It makes progress, doesn't it? No, we're going to do a new one, and let's do this one here. It's really simple. So, digitize, left click, digitize there, and we're going to close square. This is a single slope roof, still 512 eve height. It doesn't really matter. 15 feet looks like it'll work, and pitching line is there, and continue. Bam, that one's done. Perfect. Now this little fella over here looks like it's a bit of a mess, but actually it's quite simple. We're locking to 45 degrees still. Start off on that corner there, go down to that corner there, come across here somewhere, so I'm outside that one. That's about it, and close square there. This is a pitched roof, 512. I think it's probably the same heights. It might be high, might be lower, who knows. We want quantities, that's our primary objective, so we'll leave it at 15, and it's definitely 512. Hit OK, no vertical planes, and yep, that'll work. Now we use cutout again. Now the difference this time is that we're going to select the planes we want to cut. Okay, so what do? We want to probably start in there and come down about there, across there, up there, down there, over there. Close straight. Select the planes to cut. I want to cut that one and that one, that one and that one. No, that one. Done. So that's that one done. This, which one? Pick it, make a choice. Okay. Let's do this dormer thingy. Okay, mod roof dormer. Since we're in mod roof functions, I'm going to do a dormer measuring from there. Now, you might not have seen this function before. I'm sure it's done in the training course, but can't remember. It's a function called insert along a hip. So we've selected the eave line we want the dormer to be measured from, but we want to run it along that hip line. And we want to measure from the front of the dormer from the eave. So that will be, I want to measure it from there to up to there. 18 foot 9 and 5/16, so I reckon 18 foot 9 is going to get us pretty right. And from the apex down to the start of the valley, and yeah, it's probably 16 foot 10, so we'll make it 10. I mean, you can use that to the nearest 16th of an inch, but it just looks a bit ridiculous to me, so round it to the nearest inch. And hit OK, and it previews it for us. So that let's check that we've got it's a gable or a hip. Preview that. Oh no, it is a hip. So we go back to hip. It's a pitched roof, 5 degrees. Yes, 512. Set back from the eave. We've measured that already. The width of it. Just measure it. Width is. Let's zoom in a bit. Width. We'd have to. They tell us the width 26 feet. But let's check. Yeah, that's pretty close to 26. And front overhang, if you're not sure, looks about 2 feet, but we'll measure it. Okay, 1'7". Let's go 1'7". And side overhang looks to be the same, so let's make that 1'7" as well. Preview that. And that looks pretty fine. And hit OK and it goes in. So you can see some of these features, they look a bit intimidating to start with, but using the functions provided by the software, it's actually pretty close. I probably measured that one a bit tight, but if you're not happy, you just hit undo. Do it again. Don't ever be afraid of, if you mess up, don't be afraid to have another crack at it. At the end of the day, you'll be judged by the accuracy of the work you do, and not how flash the drawing looks. So I think always err on accuracy over everything else. I measured that before. I think it was 6'10" or something, and it looked like it was a bit too far. So let's go 6'7". That extra couple of inches will make a difference. And we hit OK. It remembers. Yeah, look, the valley's bang on now. It remembers all the numbers I used previously, so that's all good, and we hit OK and it goes in. See, it's just a couple of minutes and I've now got it exactly right, and it's worth doing. At the end of the day, that's how you'll be judged. Righto, I'm really feeling inclined to do this fella in here now. So as the next challenge, we're going to use Smartlines. Now, if you haven't done the training course and you don't know what Smartlines are, well, get on and do the training course, because you can't do these complicated roofs without using the Smartlines functions. They come under the heading of Construct Roof Smartlines. All the tools are in that dialog box, in that group of menus there, and the right dialog box for every single function pops up based on modifying the roof. So the first thing we have to do, because we're about to modify the line work, is delete the planes. So without deleting the planes, you can't modify the lines, because the lines define the planes. They lock it all together. So what I want to do is divide that ridge. So I use the Smartlines divide line function, and I'm just going to split it into two. Split that sucker into two. So I've now got 2 ends. Now I use the function to trim line to a length. So I'm going to trim that line to a length. So trim to length, trim that length to 29'4", and we're looking pretty good. So let's start putting some planes back. First plane I want to put back is going to be this one, so I need to create a line that goes up and down and around there. So what we do, using a Smartlines functions, copy, align the heads in that general direction, snap it to the end of the line, which is now the correct length. Grab this one, snap it into there, and well, they're all a bit long now, but we have the lengths, so let's trim them to a length. Trim that to a length of 6, and trim that to a length of 6 because it's got to be the same. That's it. Now copy a new bit of ridge, copy that bit of ridge, snap it into there, make a corner out of it between that end and that end. Now if we've done all that correctly, that plane should just go bam straight in, not that way, that way. Isometric view. Oh, wrong plane, sorry. This one, that's the way. Yes, 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 go. That's the one. So now this plane that we couldn't do, well, it's got to have a bit of line work that goes around there, but it's going the other direction. So we copy lines. Now we're going to copy that line, snap it into there. See, it's going down the hill. I'll go to ISO view in a minute, and we want another line that goes down that way. And you'll see what I mean if we spin that around. See what we're trying to do? Yeah. Back to the top view. So we trim lines to a length, trim that end to a length, and the length is 3'11". And we trim that end to the same 3'11". And then we put the new ridge in, except it's not a ridge, it's going to be a end wall flash. We'll change the line type once we've got it there. So we just copy a line that goes in the general direction. That line goes in the general direction, snap it into there. Trim to a corner, I want to trim that to the end of that one. Yes. And while we're at it, double click the line and make that an end wall. And those ones are probably end walls as well. Okay, line style changes, you can see it, and now we put our plane back in. Run around there, nut that way. Bam! That's how we do that. So that's all pretty straightforward, eh? We've done a whole bunch of work, so let's hit save. These wall outlines, we'll turn them off once we're finished with our construction of the rest of it. Righto. So next we've got to do this part. This looks a bit tricky too, but actually it's not too bad. It's just another bit of roof. So if we do another bit of roof, well, we just draw another bit of roof. Now what's useful to know at this stage though, what's the eave height of that? Because remember we cut that out, we started off at 15, but it's gone way up into fresh air somewhere there. So we measure, verify that line, and that line, it tells us that's X, Y, Z, or X, Y, Z if you're in North America. So the Z height is 28'4" and a bit, and being 28'4" and a bit in Z, well, a line has a start and end point. Well, the Z height is the height of that line. So we know the start of it, where we're starting off. This is 28 feet. This has got to be a bit lower. So I guess what we should have a look at there is how much lower. Let's have a go and see what we end up with. So we'll draw the roof first. No, and we're going to digitize it once again. Now see how this bit's cut out? Just ignore that. So we're going to go across here and out here, so we line up the end of that hip line. It's going to be cut off in a minute anyway, and somewhere up there, and close square. Still 512, and it's lower than that one, which was, what did we say it was, 28 feet. So I reckon we want to be down just based on the length of that and a 512 slope. This is all a bit guesswork, but we can check it and change it as we require. So I'm going to guess at 22 feet. No overhangs, no gable overhang. Hit OK. Still 512, yes. And I want to gable end that end. And continue. Right. So how do we find out whether we've got the right eave height there? Well, a quick way is to simply intersect that plane with that plane, and it will draw a valley line for us. And if we haven't got it in the right place, we're either too high or too low. We could also look at it in from the right hand view from over here, and you'll see where is it relative to where we're trying to go, and it would appear to be not quite right. So if it's intersecting there, we've got to get it up the roof a little bit, and to do that we increase the eave height. So we undo that last bit, modify roof, change eave height. We change the eave height of this one and this one and this one, and let's go let's go. I'm confused now. Do you get confused? I get confused sometimes. Verify that again. What was that? 28 feet. Alright, so 22 wasn't enough, and it had us way too low. So if it's way too low, let's go 25. Modify roof, change eave height, there and there. Make it 25 instead of 22. Construct roof, intersect planes, that plane with that plane. Does the valley come out in the right place? Here's hoping. Whoa, that's pretty close, isn't it? So we went from 22 to 25. I reckon if we would go up another couple of inches, modify roof, change eave height, and we make the eave height, let's say 3 inches more, and we hit OK. Now you might think, well, this is a lot of messing around. It may be, but the bottom line is it's giving you the information to allow you to model this thing absolutely spot on, like we said right at the start. There we go. Perfect. So we'll undo that line, because now we're going to use the project gable function. I'm going to project that gable onto that roof plane, and you go, oh damn, didn't work properly. Don't worry, it's okay. Let's go to the isometric view. We're going to get this spot on, and that's the secret of reliable estimating. Your customers will come back to you because you do a ripper job every time. So let's keep it going. And while we're at it, we'll delete a bit of the mess here. That one's redundant from when we did that cutout. That one's redundant from when we did our project gables. So we can get rid of those. There's a few lines associated with it as well. Go back to construct roof, Smartlines, and we'll get rid of these lines. Whoops. Delete that line. No. Yes. We want to get rid of. Do we need that? No, we don't need that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And we're okay. Right, what do we have to do now? We have to get these to work. So we know the rules. If we want to mess with the planes, the lines, we've got to delete the planes. And I've gone a bit berserk there and deleted the wrong one. Do that again, right? Delete that one. That one. That one. Go slow. We haven't got time to go fast, and we don't need that one anymore. He's redundant. Right, Smartlines. So divide line into 2. Divide that line into 2. Righto. Trim corner. Trim that end of that one to that end of that one. Trim that end of that one to that end of that one. Now, if we've done this right, that plane will go in. We won't do that yet. What we need now is a bit of line that comes down to here, or we need to project that out to there. So we need to copy a bit of rake line. So we copy a bit of rake line and snap it into there. We need one on that end as well, so let's do that while we're at it. We're in the snapping mode, so we'll snap that one into there. I'm using middle button snap, and if you zoom right in, you'll see it's gone bang on it. Now don't left click doesn't snap. So now we trim to a corner, we want that to go to that, and if it goes to it, you know you've done the right thing. Excellent. Once you get a plane that works, put it in. It locks it in and it can't be messed up. Righto, so that's got that organised. Now we've got to put this in, but if we go back to our plan view, we'll see that that's not quite how it works. So we've got to do a cutout, modify roof cutout, select the planes to cut and digitize. Okay, so we'll do all that through there. Let's zoom in a bit. See, it wasn't close enough, was it? If you're close enough, you get a better job. Into that, over there, through there, out there, close square, and cut that and that. Right, so that's got that sorted. Now, what happens over there? Oh, we've got another reline we don't need. Get rid of that line, that one, and that looks like that's ready to go in. So let's see if it goes in. Construct roof. Put the plane back. No. Yes. Up the hill. Yes. Down and around. Up that way. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. How about that? Right. Double click this line. Make that a valley line. Make that a valley line. And hey, I reckon that job's just about done. What do you think? Turn off the walls, makes the place look untidy. You could go ahead and delete all those if you're fussed with deleting all the wall lines, or if they just make your job look untidy, or you just turn them off, and then you got a little bit of extra line work there from when we projected into that roof. But there we go. That's how you would do that. Towards the end, I got a bit reckless, so not as precise, but you get the drift. It looked like it was a really complicated job, but when you apply a little bit at a time, you'll get it done. What do they say? How do you eat a whale? One mouthful at a time. So just tackle it bits at a time, break it down into the simple components, and before you know where you are, you've completed the job and it just looks absolutely spot on. Well done with that. If there's any other questions or you need something that we can help you with, drop us a line at any time. ray@applicad.com. We're here to help. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye for now.